My mother's gift of courage to me were both large and small. I can hardly distinguish where she stops and I begin. Love heals and liberates. I will look after you, and I will look after anybody you say needs to be looked after in any way you say. I am here. I brought my whole self to you. I am your mother. You see, baby, you have to protect yourself. If you don't protect yourself, you look like a fool asking somebody else to protect you. Remember this, when you cross my doorstep, you have already been raised. With what you have learned, you know the difference between right and wrong. I really saw clearly, and for the first time, why my mother is really important. Not just because she feeds and also loves and cuddles. She stands between the unknown and the known. My mother's gift of courage to me were both large and small. I can hardly distinguish where she stops and I begin.
When I became of age, my mother called me to her side. She said, son, you're growing up now. Pretty soon you'll take a bride.
Mama said there'll be days like this, there'll be days like this. Mama said, Mama said, Mama said.
Don't you know we love you, sweet Sadie? Place no one above you, sweet Sadie. Well, living in the past. Sometimes it seems so funny, but no money will turn your life around.
I'll always love my mama, she's my favorite girl. I'll always love my mama, she brought me in this world.
My mother's gift of courage to me were both large and small. I can hardly distinguish where she stops and I began. Don't do anything that you think is wrong. Just do what you think is right, and then be ready to back it up, even with your life. The day I learned that I could be a giver simply by bringing a smile to another person. Your reputation is the most important thing you ever have. No clothes, no money, no big cars. You may drive. If your reputation is good, you can achieve anything you want in this world. This is the role of a mother. And in that visit, I really saw clearly, and for the first time, why my mother is really important. Not just because she feeds and also loves and cuddles. She had my back and supported me. This is the role of a mother. And in that visit, I really saw clearly for the first time why my mother is really important. She said, no, you learn that you have power and determination. I love you. I am proud of you. With those two things, you can go anywhere and everywhere. Love heals and liberates. I missed you, but I knew that you were in the best place for you. My mother's gift of courage to me were both large and small. I can hardly distinguish where she stops and I began. Trust your brain to suggest a solution, then have the courage to follow through. I swear to you, I would never leave you again. If I go, when I go, wherever I go, you go with me or I won't go. I remember so clearly, I think I was about 4 years old. My mother was a school teacher, and just like a lot of schools, they have different trips for the students. Well, my mother was a school teacher for a high school, and they were taking the kids on a winter break trip to Europe. I think they went to England, France, Germany, maybe like Prague or Belgium. I think those are the countries they went to. Either or. Before going on this trip, my mother dropped me off at my grandmother's house, which is about 2.5, 3 hours south of where I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. Grandmother lived in the country. Wasn't a lot of things down there, but fields and farm animals, flies, mosquitoes, gnats. I mean, I had my cousins down there, of course, but I was 4. And a lot of my cousins were very rough housing. They were country boys. I was a city boy. Country rat, city rat. Completely different. Brought up differently, understand life differently. Anyway, my mother dropped me off to my grandmother's. She left me down there, which would be for, I want to say, about 2 or 3 weeks. You know, I cried, she cried. That was the first time that she had ever left me alone for a long period of time since I'd been born. So she left. She went over to Europe, lived her full life. I mean, had a ball. But she missed me the whole time. Well, I missed her the whole time too, because on a day-to-day schedule with my grandmother was completely different from a day-to-day schedule with my mother. The way I ate, the things we did, the stuff that we laughed about, TV that I watched, how I slept, where I slept, all was completely foreign to me at that time. Well, my grandmother did the best she could from how she was used to raising kids. You know, she did raise my mother and her 5 siblings, so she knew how to raise a child. I just was not her child, and she had not been raising me. I missed my mother so much, and she missed me so much. When she came back, she said to me, I swear to you, I will never leave you again. If I go, when I go, wherever I go, you go with me, or I won't go. My mother's gift of courage to me, both large and small, I can hardly distinguish where she stops and I begin.
I say thank you for the life that you give. Now they all know my name. They all know my name. Yeah. Mama, I say thank you. Without you in my life, things just won't be the same. Won't be the same.
Everything you did was worth it. All the sacrifices taken when the picture wasn't perfect. I could see it in your face when I was young, and all your burdens are reminders to keep pushing when I'm working on this circuit.
You always was a black queen, mama. I finally understand, for a woman it ain't easy trying to raise a man. You always was committed, a poor single mother on welfare. Tell me how you did it.
She sews for the poor and generously helps those in need. She has no fear of a winter for her household, for she has made warm clothes, and for all of them, she is a woman of strength and dignity, and has no fear of old age. When she speaks, her words are wise, and kindness is the rule for everything she says. She watches carefully all that goes on throughout her household, and is never lazy. Her children stand and bless her. So does her husband. He praises her with these words: there are many fine women in the world, but you are the best of them all. Happy is Mother's Day, Queens, for those living and those in heaven. We love you and we appreciate you.
Ooh, you know I love you, mama.